Rabbi Sai, tonight for Parshas ki-sovo, we're going to speak about an Indian B'negeh Hilchas tzadaka. The reason we have done this is because in Parshas ki-sovo, the Torah talks about the vidui maisris, in which a person makes a proclamation that he has fulfilled all the halachas of meiser and the like, and therefore it is a legitimate place to speak about some aspect of tzadaka. And since Parshas ki-sovo is one of the more difficult parshas to find topics about, because the majority of the parsha is devoted to the teichacha, which we do not want to elaborate on, so therefore that's why we have designated Parshas ki-sovo as a tzadaka parsha. What I'm going to speak about tonight, Rabbi Sai, is a shaila that unfortunately is all too negeya. And that is that we all know that Klal Yisrael are greim lechasodim, b'nei greim lechasodim. We're generous people, we're kind people, compassionate people, and therefore, and on the other hand, tzorech amcha merubim, that there are unfortunately many people that are destitute, or whatever the case may be. They have to marry off children, people from Eretz Yisrael, Maistais, and therefore we have a plethora of meshulachim, or tzedaka collectors, who come and ask us for donations. The vast majority of these people have legitimate needs. And here in Baltimore, Maryland, we have a system that was set up by Rabbi Heinemann and the Aguda, in which there is a system in which the people are in fact certified as being legitimate nitzrachim and people that need the money. On the other hand, there are situations, I guess the system is fail-safe, and I'm sure that there are times that people slip through the cracks. And in other cities, they don't have such an elaborate system of legitimizing, make sure that everybody is in fact legitimate. So what we're going to discuss tonight, Rabbi say, what is the halacha if a person in fact gives a tzadaka to somebody and the guy turns out to be a fraud, and that he puts on a good act, but unfortunately it's just a scam, and he takes your money. The question, Rabbi say, is, are you mekayim the mitzvah of tzedaka by giving to such a person in spite of the fact that he turned out to be illegitimate, because your intentions were the best of intentions? You wanted to give this person tzedaka. That's the subject of tonight's shir. The title that I've given, which is now available online about 11 o'clock after the shir every Thursday night, due to the wonders of technology, is The Phony Tzedakah Collector. So that's the subject of tonight's shir. What is interesting, Rabbi Isai, is that there seems to be two Gemaras that seem to contradict each other. In fact, that one Gemara seems to indicate that you should in fact get a mitzvah for giving such a person. On the other hand, there seems to be a Gemara that says quite the opposite. The first Gemara which we quote, which is a Gemara that is well known to many of us, it's a Gemara that we always are quick to quote, and that is a Gemara in Masechta Kedushin, Hadaf Mem Amud Aleph, where the Gemara says, Machshava Taiva Mitzarfa L'Maisa, that the Rebbeinu Shalom takes a Machshava Taiva, and if you're well intended and you try to do a mitzvah, then the Rebbeinu Shalom counts that as in fact as a mitzvah. The Gemara brings this from a pasuk in Malachi, that the pasuk says, Shene'amar Oz nidbru yirei Hashem ishas el reyehu vayakshev Hashem vayishma vayikasev b'sev sefer zikor lifnei Hashem liyirei Hashem u'lachai shavei shemai. So the Gemara says, what does it mean, l'chai shavei shemai? Chayshev means the people that think. Ravasi afilo chishev adam laseis mitzvah. If a person intended to perform a mitzvah, v'nenas v'loy asah, and he, for whatever reason, came out, he couldn't do it, he was prevented from doing it, ma'ala olav hakasuv ki'ilu asah. The Rebbeinu Shalom counts this as though you did it. Machshava teva HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'maisa, mitzarfa l'maisa, afilu chashav adam l'aseish mitzvah. You merely intend to do a mitzvah. V'nenas v'lo yasah. You went to New York for a chasana, right? So you schlep up all the way up to New York, and then lo and behold, the nightmare of all of us who have to travel to New York, the Staten Island Expressway is a parking lot. And there you sit, and you sit, and you sit, and you sit, and lo and behold, by the time you get to the chasana, the show is over. Here, so you schlepped up all the way, and in the end, you weren't mekayim misamech hasim v'kala, you weren't mekayim anything. Zot Gemara, not true. Afilu chashav v'ada chishav v'ada l'asei mitzvah v'loin v'nenes l'aseh ma'ala v'akasav kilu asah. So it would seem from that Gemara, that if I wrote out a check to a person that told me his tale of woe, and I was compassionate, and I gave him a big check, and because I wanted to help out the person, and it turned out that it was a tale of woe, but it was a fictional tale of woe, then l'chayra ma'ala v'akasav kilu asah, the Rebbeinu Shalom will give me credit because my intentions were good. I wanted to give tzadaka. This guy turned out to be a fraud. That's unfortunate, but I'll still get the credit. We're not talking about this guy. We're talking about us. But however, there seems to be a Gemara that it says explicitly almost that this is not the case. Because the Gemara says in Bava Kama Tezayin Amid Beis, and this is a Gemara in Bava Basra on Tes Amid Beis, Dorash Rava Maidich Siv Yiu Muchshalon Lefanecha Beis Abcha Asei Bahem. Divrei Yirmiyahu Ben Chilkiyahu Min Ha'anasais. Yirmiyahu was from the city of Anasais, and Yirmiyahu Novi had a very, very difficult life. And the people really, they mistreated, they tortured, they did everything under the sun to Yirmiyahu, and particularly the people of his hometown. So the Gemara says in Bava Kama, it's a pasuk that Yirmiyahu cursed his townspeople. He cursed the people of Anasais. Zot the Gemara, Omar Yirmiyahu lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, afilu b'shah she'osin tzedaka hachshilam b'vnei adam she'enin mehuganin kedei shelo yikablu aleim sachar. Yirmiyahu gave them a very interesting curse. He says, Ribono shel Olam, afilu, when the people of Anasais take out their checkbooks to do a mitzvah and they want to give tzedaka, you know what? Don't let them fulfill the mitzvah tzedaka, that the people that are collecting tzedaka from them should all be frauds, and as a result of that, they won't be kind of the mitzvah. That's the lashon. Afilu b'shah sha'is tzedaka hachshila b'vnei adam she'enim hugadim kedei shel yumekablu aleim sachar. So Rabbi said that, the first Gemara was a general Gemara. There's a general concept called Chishev Adam L'Asais Mitzvah V'La'asah. It's general. But this is specific. Here the Gemara says, before Yishin Bava Kama Daf Tazayin, that Yirmiyahu Novi said he wanted to curse the people of Anasais, that they shouldn't benefit from tzedakah. So I feel when they go and they're ready to give tzedakah. But we Rebbeinu Shalom make it that they should give people that are not legitimate, they're not real aniyim, and as a result of that, they won't get the mitzvah. So l'chayra, and the Gemara says, "Mefurish kedei shelo yikabel aleim sochar." So the question becomes, Rabbi Sai, how do we reconcile these two opposing Gemaras? And what is the proper hashkafa? If you give tzedaka to a person who's not legitimate, do you or do you not get a mitzvah? So the Nemuki Yosef in Bava Kama over there on Tezayin Amud Beis, the Nemuki Yosef over there says two things, one of which is very difficult to understand. The Nemuki Yosef addresses this Gemara about Yirmiyah, and the Nemuki Yosef writes, Hadeino mekabel sochar hanu dafka b'mi sheyedea boi she'enoi hagud. That Gemara that says that if you give tzedakah to an illegitimate person is if you know that he's not legitimate. Avolim einei makirei. But if you don't know who this guy is, and you think he's legitimate, avolim einei makirei ve'efsher shehu hagan, socha yesh lehem, socha yesh le shaharei l'shem mitzvah mechaving. If you give to a person you don't know, is he legit, not legit, you're going to get a mitzvah regardless, because as the Nemuki Yosef says, Shaharei l'shem mitzvah mechaving. And then the Nemuki Yosef says, V'oid, d'iloi tema hachi atanoyel deles b'fnei kama mehugadim b'mokom she'ena nikarin. Zok the Nemuki Yosef another svara. Because if you're going to take this approach, nobody's going to. If you're going to tell me that if you give money and and the guy's not legitimate, you're not going to get tzedakah, you know what you're going to do? You're going to close the door in front of all aniyim, because everybody's going to say, "Oh, I don't know if this guy's legit." And as we all know, we don't need much of an excuse not to give tzedakah. So if I know that the halacha is that if somebody's not legit, if it turns out that somebody's not legit, if the halacha is that you don't get schar, then why should I give? Which means this is going to have a deleterious and chilling effect on all the nice tzedakah, because you always have in the back of my mind, well, I'm going to give this guy a big check, and the guy turns out, he comes to my door in tatters, and then he walks down 2 blocks, and he gets in his Lexus, and he drives away. So atanol dels b'fnei hamuhu gana. Now that's a very nice svara. But the first part of the Nemuki Yosef, Rabbi Sai, is very difficult to understand. The Nemuki Yosef says that the whole Gemara that says that if you give money to an ani, he's not legitimate, is dafka if you know that he's not legitimate. Which leads to the obvious question, if you know that he's not legitimate, then why on earth are you giving him money? I mean, there are better ways of wasting your money. So what does the Nemuki Yosef mean? That's what the Gemara says, that you don't get schar if the ani turns out to be a fraud. If you know he's not hogan and you give him money, you don't get schar. Well, yeah, that's correct. But then why did you give him? So, in spite of the fact that the second svara of the Nemuki Yosef, Atanayel Delis Bifnei Hamuhuganim, is a very compelling svara, but this really still isn't miyashiv these two opposing Gemaras. How do we reconcile the Gemara in Kedushin that says Choshav Adam Lasais Mitzvah V'Lo Yasa Malav Akasav Kilu Asa, that Rebbe Hashem gives you an A for effort, and he gives you credit for good intentions? And the Gemara in Bava Kama that says Mefurish that Yirmiyah Novi said that if you give tzedakah to people who are not legit, you do not get tzedakah.
If Yirmiyah wouldn't curse them, who would have been? In other words, they would have given money and they would have gotten credit.
Because they would have gotten regular people. They would have gotten legitimate people. Yirmiyah's curse was that all the people that they give to should turn out to be frauds. So if it wouldn't be for Yirmiyah's curse, they would have gotten normal aniyim and they would have gotten the sachar.
Maybe he knew that they were giving in order to show off people.
Maybe who knew?
Maybe Yirmiyah knew.
That what?
People were giving money in order to show off to people, not for the mitzvah and stuff.
Well, that's mehekitesi. Why she's asking? Maybe Yirmiyah, knew that they were illegitimate. But the truth, that they were not well intended. But the halacha is that if you give tzedaka for the most vain reasons in the world, it's still called a mitzvah. That's like tzedaka you have. The Gemara says, if I give tzedaka because I want my name in big bold letters on some building, harei tzadik gomer. So that's I don't think that's a time. So the question is, how do we reconcile these two Gemaras? So I saw Rabbi say a chilufei michtavim, an exchange of letters between, this is the second week in a row, between the Mishnah Halachas from Rav Menashe Klein, and he writes a tshuva to Rav Shmuel Birnbaum, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Rav Shmuel Birnbaum, as you may know, was for many years the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir Yeshiva in Brooklyn. He unfortunately was nifter during this past year. So the Mishnah Halachas wrote a tshuva in his sefer. Rav Shmuel Birnbaum wrote him a taina on the thing, and he answered back. That's the nature of this exchange over here. What was the issue that the Mishnah Halachas in Chelek Hey Siman Aleph was dealing with? And this Rabbi Isai is a very common shaila, even a more serious shaila. And that's the shaila about a person who bought a pair of tefillin, a beautiful pair of tefillin, from a legitimate sefer, paid a ton of money with all the hidurim. After several years, he decided to have them checked, and lo and behold, it was missing a parsha in the tefillin. And this can go on for 30 years. So for 30 years, he didn't put on tefillin. Not only for that, for 30 years, he had a bracha of atola at least every day. So what's the hashkafa towards that situation? And by the way, if you're not happy with the tie-in to Parshas ki-sovo of tzadaka, the Gemara says on the pasuk, "V'ro kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha elu tefillin shebareish." So memela you can speak about tefillin in Parshas ki-sovo also. So therefore, it's a double tie-in. But be that as it may, so this is the shaila that the Mishnah Halachas dealt with, and the Mishnah Halachas said, "V'kasafti t'chi hagavni mikri oynes v'leishoigeg v'leovar al Yisrael ela efsher shegam yesh mitzvahs tefillin." Zok the Mishnah Halachas a gewaldige chiddush that a person who put on tefillin all the years thinking that they were good tefillin, nice tefillin, and they turned out to be puzzle, he still gets the schar of the mitzvah of tefillin because of chashav adam lasais mitzvah v'nenas lo yasah malo v'akasav kilu asah. And that when you go to the Olam HaEmes, they're going to give you schar for wearing tefillin because you intended to put on tefillin, you wanted to put on tefillin, you bought, you didn't go into, many years ago, Macy's used to sell tefillin. So you didn't buy these from Macy's. You bought this from some Erlich Yid in Mimei Yesharim, you did everything right. So Zakti Mishnah Halachas, he says, Shegam yesh le mitzvahs tefillin l'fi madekaimel an chishay laseis mitzvah nenes le'asah malav akasav ki'ilu asah v'chei matzasi be'esh al Avram or achaim siman lambetes. And he says, I found that Enoch Hinami, the De'esh al Avram, Hagoy Mibotchach, who writes on Shulchan Aruch, he also says the same thing, that you get schar for mitzvahs tefillin. That's the Mishnah Halachas Chelek Hey Siman Aleph. So he brings that Rav Shmuel Birnbaum Zichron Livracha asked him from the Gemara in Bava Basra, same Gemara in Bava Kama, Ma'ay Dichsiv Yumuchshalom Fanecha Beis Apcha Asebeh, Zot the Gemara that hear me, I know he asked, Afilu B'Shei Shekayfen Esitzim Mevashim Lasitz, L'Hachshilam B'Vnei Adam Shenim Ugadim Kadesh Lo Yikab Aleim Zochar. So Shmuel Birnbaum asked on this, why is this different from the Gemara in Bava Kama, Bava Basra that says that if you give tzedakah to a person that's not a legitimate ani, you do not get schar. That's what Yirmiyah Novi was mispalel for. So you see from that Gemara Mefurish that good intentions are good intentions, but you don't get the mitzvah. At the end of the day, you don't get the mitzvah. You didn't give tzedakah. And therefore, hu adid v'hu atam, you should not be considered as though that you put on tefillin. As a Frek Reb Shmuel Birnbaum on the Mishnah Halachas. So Reb Shmuel Birnbaum has his own teretz on this, and he says that whole Gemara of Chishev Adam Laseis Mitzvah Ma'alav Akasav Kilaso, that if you have good intentions you get the schar as though you did it, that is only speaking about when what you did is there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you did. For instance, you went to be Mevaker Chayla, you went to Sinai Hospital to be Mevaker Chayla, you slept there, you took off time of work, you get there, you get to the guy's room, and to your terrible disappointment, he's discharged from the hospital. No bigger chaylim. Zok there, Zok Reb Shmuel. That's Chishev Adam Laseis Mitzvah. There's nothing wrong that you did. You went. There's nothing you drove. You went. That's Chishev Laseis Ma'alav Akasav Kilaso. But when you put on tefillin, and in the meantime, you're being mevatel mitzvahs tefillin, and you're making brachas levatala. Or in the case of the ani, you're giving your hard-earned money to this ani who's not an ani, and not to somebody else. So the pu'ula is involved with something that is, in fact, as he writes over here. He writes, Shaloi asa pula shaloik haigen aval betfilin sheiniach tefillin psulin ubirach bracha latola, and you did something which is eina mechuvin b'chi hagavna. You don't say chishev laseis, and you say in ochinami you don't get schar. That's how he's mechalik. Which means that ein ochinami, if you give money to a person that's not a legitimate tzadaka collector, you don't get nothing. So, Azay Yissocher Frand Birnbaum. The Mishnah Halachas himself, Rabbi Yisai, wants to give a different teretz. How do you reconcile the two Gemaras? The Gemara in Bava Kama that Yirmiyah Novi says, "Hachshilim b'fnei Adam she'edim hugarim kadesh lo yimekablam aleim sokar." Give them illegitimate people that they won't get the schar, and the Gemara in Kiddushin, Chashav Laseis Tzok Mitzvah Ma'alav Akasav. So the Mishnah Halachas makes a very interesting diuk in the Gemara. When Yirmiyah Novi asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, I want to fix these people of Anshe Nosais. They've been terrible to me. Hachshilim b'fnei Adam she'enim hugarim. Let their tzedakah collectors to be phonies. Kedei shelo yiyu mekablim aleihem sochar. So they shouldn't get schar. Why didn't the Yirmiyah say Kedei shelo yekaymu es ha-mitzvah? Why is Yirmiyah obsessed with sochar? You know what? It better someone fix them. They'll give tzedakah and they won't get schar for it. Why is he worried about schar? Why doesn't he say, let them go give money to illegitimate people, they won't have a mitzvah. Shelo yekaymu es ha-mitzvah. He writes, we're not interested in sochar. We're not in this business for schar. Al tiyu kavodim hamishamshin es harav al menas l'kabel pras. Sochar, that's like a side benefit, a fringe benefit, but that's not our focus. We want kiyum mitzvahs. So vasap is the Yirmiyah say the lashon hachshilim b'vnei adam she'enim hugarim kadesh lo yumekablim aleim sochar. Why didn't he say kadesh lo yekaymu mitzvahs tzedakah? Zot the Mishnah Halachis, because that's not what this Gemara means. You know what this Gemara means? The Gemara of Bava Kama with Yirmiyah. He says because tzedakah is unique, almost unique among mitzvahs, that besides the schar lo'olam haba, besides the kiyum mitzvah lo'olam haba, tzedakah has in it so many benefits in olam hazeh. And he proceeds to list all the benefits that you get in this world. Tzedakah is one of those things, she'adam eichel perisein ba'olam hazeh v'akeren kayemes lo la'olam haba. V'hinei harbe mailas heim ba'olam hazeh. Tzedakah tatzal mimaves. The Gemara says tzedakah helps you, chas v'shalom, from never being killed. V'lo avimisa mishun el misa mamish. V'chein, he writes over here, mekarev es ha'geula. V'zeichel l'banim scharim. He'll have male children. V'tfilas ha'nishmas. Your tfilas are answered. U'mekabel pnei ha'shchina. You get all of these side benefits. Zok the Mishnah Halachis, that's what Yirmiyah was saying. Echshilim bivnei adam shenim who got him. Let them give stock to legitimate people. Shelo yivihei mekablim aleim sochar, because they won't have the benefits, all the benefits of stock in this world. But for shteitzach, do they have a key mitzvah, a mitzvah tzedakah? Yes. Are they going to get olam haba? Yes. Because chi shevodam laseis mitzvah v'lo yasa malav akasav kilu asa. And that's how he reconciles the two Gemaras.
So why doesn't he get the benefits of this world?
Because in order to have the benefits of this world, you have to have helped an ani. And this person was not an ani. You know, you feathered his 401k, that's what you did. That's not what tzedakah is about. And everybody today needs their 401ks to be feathered. Azay sagt the Mishnah Halachas. This chiddush, Memela, according to him, the bottom line is when you give tzedakah to a person who's not legitimate, you are mekayim mitzvahs tzedakah because of the Gemara of Chishay Vadam Laseis mitzvah. The Gemara Bava Kama and Bava Basa with the Yirmiyah, that's Lagabi, the Sochar Ba'olam Hazeh. Azay Zokter. Gewaldige Chiddush. U'miyata nir lachada ishtahai klola shekil Yirmiyah Zokter, that's Shelo yichaydu ha-sochar mitzvah b'hai alma shehu neisef al ikra ha-mitzvah sheschar ba'olam haba. The kilim shloitei ikra ha-mitzvah, the safe came and shekayfi yitzvah v'neisen tzedakah heim asu shalahem. That's how he refers the Shaila, the Stira. Yissocher Frand, the Chuvas Har Tzvi, Orach Chaim Siman Lamed Hey, also deals with this Shaila. But again, he deals this with Shaila. This starting point is Hilchas Tefillin. And the same unfortunate Shaila about a guy who bought a pair of tefillin, Mehudorim, and this guy even went further. He gave them to someone to check the tefillin, and the sefer said they're perfect. And then, a few years down the road, he gave them to be checked once again, and lo and behold, the sefer found that an ice was missing, which means not only did the guy who wrote this tefillin originally make a mistake, not only did the guy who checked them the first time make a mistake, but, I mean, what's a guy supposed to do? I mean, he did everything that's legitimately shy. He got a good pair of tefillin, he even had them checked. So the Pesach goes to this question of, do you get mitzvahs tefillin or not? And Rabbi say, not going through a whole lifetime not wearing tefillin is a very, very severe avera. It's what the Gemara calls in Rosh Hashanah, kakafta do'loi monach tefillin. That's why it's very important that your person should know that his tefillin are kosher, and he should get them from a very good sefer, and he should make sure that they're kosher, because you don't want to chas v'shalom go through life having not put on tefillin. So that's what it's Pesach Shaila. Ulachayra yesh lahavi raya zakritzi Pesach lachari can bring a raya He brings the Gemara by Yirmiyah, and he says, Zet Mendoch, you see from that Gemara, that in spite of the fact that you were well intended, but nevertheless you don't get the mitzvah. But on the other hand, Mamish, the Shala with which we began, Yesh Lura Benidin Didan Shal Kolponim Hiu Bichlal Mashamru Chishev Laseis Mitzvah Venenes Vloyaso Malov Akosav Kilu Aso. This stira. How do you reconcile these two opposing Gemaras? The Gemara that on one hand says that as long as Chishev Laseis Mitzvah Malov Akosav Kilu Aso, and the Gemara in Bava Kama that says that Yirmiyah Novi said they don't get the mitzvah stuck, and he doesn't get into the chilik that the Mishnah Halachas make schar, kiyum. By him it's all the same. So he says he wants to faren for this kasha, this stira, and come to a maskana, was a very, very logical maskana based on another kasha, which is something that's going to be negea, hopefully not negea in a couple weeks. The halacha rabbi is, as you all know, that if a person sits in the sukkah and it starts raining, so he's potter from sukkah. The Gemara in the Mishnah says in Masechta Sukkah and Chav Ches, Yardu Gshamim Me'i Masai Mutter Lefanes Misha Tisrach HaMikpah Mashlu Mahadavar Daima Levet Shabaluv Lekes the Rabbi B'Shafach Lekitan Alpanav Shalevet. Famous Gemara. If it rains, Rabbi, on the first night of Sukkot and you can't sit in the Sukkah, or you have to sit there when it rains, it's a siman raw. The Mefarshim say that's Tafkin Eretz Yisrael, not Chutz La'aretz. It's not so worrisome for us, but that's what the Gemara says. Terrible siman. And so you know what it's like? It's like an Eved that comes to serve his Odain a glass of water, and the Odain takes the thing and he throws it in his face. Meaning, I don't want you Avodah, I don't want your mitzvah sukkah, get out of here. So, Frekter Akasha, Frekter Shvus Yankiv Akasha. Why isn't this Bichlal Chishev Lasais mitzvah v'lo yasah? What do you want from the poor guy? The guy made a sukkah, he made a beautiful sukkah, he decorated it the whole 9 yards. Then you tell me the Odin throws it in his face? Why isn't it Chishev Lasais mitzvah? Azay Frex, he brings this to Shvus Yankiv, asks this kasha. Zok the Shvus Yankiv and Arachaim Chelik Beisim and Yud Sheyesh Chilik Bein Oynes Teshchiach V'ilu Hayum Ninaz Reason Mitzvah Hayev Shalishma Miyanas Ubeinim Nenas Ba'oines Taleshchiach V'loi Havi Lei Lasuke Daite V'yev Shahoy Lahatzim Lehinotzim in Oynes. It depends what happened to you. Meaning, if you're an Oynes Gomer, you did everything under your power to fulfill the mitzvah. You took every precaution. And for some reason, Nenas lo yasah, then Mala all of Akosav Kilu Asah. If you came home from shul, Sukkot by night, and you see that it was threatening, and it was just maybe beginning to rain, just a few drops, and you quickly gathered the family together, and rushed into the sukkah, you washed, you made kiddush, you made amaitzi, and then it started to rain. You've done everything that you can. You're going to get, and the benefit, it's not like throwing it in your face. But when you don't take all the precautions, when you don't go the extra mile to ensure that you've done as much as you can to possibly fulfill the mitzvah, then we don't say Chishev Laseis mitzvah. Zokratzi Pesach, that's the chilik between the Gemara and Kiddushin that says as long as you have intention to do a mitzvah v'lo yasah, you get the schar. That is when you've done everything that you possibly can. And therefore, in our case, for the person with the tefillin, that bought the tefillin from a Erlacha person, that had them checked once, and then on the second time, it was nimsa pasul. That is an honest gomer, and that the Shvus Yankiv says, Ma'ala olav hakosav keilu aso, because you did everything under your sun, everything under the sun possible. And what am I supposed to do? I had bought them, I had them checked. However, the Gemara in Bava Kama with Yirmiyah is speaking when you didn't do everything that you could have done. The guy comes to you, he says, he gives you a tale of woe, a sob story. You write him a big check. This is a big check. You're not giving the guy a couple bucks. You give him a big check. So you check it out. Did you ask the guy for references? Did you ask the guy for a letter? Did you look into it? No, so fine, you went ahead, you gave it to him. That's what Yirmiyah said about the people of Anosais. The people of Anosais won't get schar because, you have these guys that drive up in the Lexus. And you don't ask any questions. And you don't take any precautions, and you don't go to take any measures. Zok Yirmiyah Anovi Achshilim B'vnei Adam Shenim Uganim. And you won't get schar. Because as they say in the real estate business, you did not do your due diligence. And when you don't do your due diligence, then you're taking your risk, and we have no schar for such a person. But when you do your due diligence, if did everything that is possible for you to do, then enochinami. So therefore I would make the case that here in Baltimore or other cities that have such systems, that's Bichlal Rabbi said, doing your due diligence. We don't have the means, the wherewithal, the time to check out every guy that comes. Baruch Hashem, we have a shul like the Aguda, we have a rabbi like Rabbi Heidemann, and he does the due diligence. So the guy comes with a letter, he says a legitimate thing, writes down what he's coming for. He has other letters. You don't need dafka that. A person comes with other letters. He comes from letters from Eretz Yisrael. He comes from letters from his kehila. Listen, you're only human. You give him tzadaka, it turns out to be not legitimate, slip through the cracks. So that's not what Yirmiyah was talking about. Masha'in Kain, when you don't do your due diligence, and you just, you don't take it seriously, you do it haphazardly, then enochinami. That's what Yirmiyah Anovi was saying. And therefore, in the case of the tefillin, same thing. It all depends on the circumstances. If you bought from a legitimate person, certainly if you had it checked, and it turns out to be puzzle, then ma'ala l'akasav kilo asal.
You just said, if I build a sukkah, don't put schlock on it, and I didn't do due diligence. And therefore, the whole town is not...
Well, you see, putting a schlock on the sukkah will help you. Well, in other words, if it's raining the first night, it depends on the circumstances. It depends on the circumstances, and not everybody can put up a schlock.
But I didn't do due diligence then, because it rained for the first 3 hours. I had it till midnight. My sukkah now is dripping wet, so I can't sit it because I didn't have a schlock. According to what you just said, I don't get the mitzvah.
Well, I'm not willing to go that far because I don't have a schlock. Because I'm certainly not willing to go that far. People who are challenged by such arduous tasks of building a schlock they've done their due diligence.
So it stopped raining at 11:30 on the first night.
This year was presented by Rav Yissocher Frand Shlita. Lakewood.
Prime Insurance, where every day is a prime day. They're the agency with first-class service, advice, and all forms of excellent nationwide coverage. Winner of prestigious awards amid wide industry recognition, Prime shops its wide network of leading insurance companies to present tailored policies at competitively lowest quotes. Now at their beautiful new building at 960 East County Line Road, Prime enters a glorious era of unprecedented distinction. Prime Insurance, 732-886-5751. Experience the Prime difference.